to the tap in. We talking again. Yeah. Welcome to the podcast. Might talk a little shit, get a little brash. Might drink a little bit, smoke a little bit. Vibe a little bit, laugh a little bit. Yeah. Hosted by Fidel. Tell it like it is, only tell it real. Live every Tuesday, you know the deal. We talking again. You now tuned in to the tap in. You now tuned in to the tap in. You now tuned in to the tap in. We're talking again. Come on.
What's up, everybody? This is Fidel Avendaño Jr. Talking Again podcast. I am here another episode of the Tap. This is gonna be Tap 67.
Wow.
Not that bad, huh?
Yeah.
Once a week. This is what I do. But I'm here with Mary Escobar.
Mm-hmm.
She's the host of Purposely Curious.
Yes.
She's also a hospice nurse
Yeah, I am.
and a world traveler
Yes.
and a super LA Galaxy fan.
Yeah, I wore my LA Galaxy hat because I noticed you have different sport team and everything. So I thought I'd represent the Galaxy.
There you go. I appreciate that. I'm a huge Galaxy. Well, okay, I can't say huge because I was back in the day when we're talking about, when they won their first MLS, right? So we're talking Kobe Jones, Alexi Lalas, who else? Mauricio Cienfuegos.
Mm-hmm.
That team was pretty stacked. Carlos Ruiz. Well, I think Pescadito was in there too. Somebody's gonna correct me, but that was
so
that.
You jumped ship or
No. I just stopped watching MLS. I just kind of stopped watching MLS.
yeah.
I watch it every once in a while. If it's on playoffs. I'm one of those fans now. I grew up playing soccer though. That was my sport. Like soccer was my thing until I got older, and I just stopped playing, and then I just kind of stopped watching it too.
Yeah.
I don't know. It kind of sucks.
Life
Yeah, I
happens.
guess so. But then I'm like crazy about these sports over here, and this is not a sports podcast. People come in, they go, "Is this a sports podcast?" And I go, "Nope, it's not." But this is the man cave.
The man cave.
Well,
yeah.
I share it with my wife though, because you got the washing machine, and she's got all kinds of other stuff over here, storage. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So you're a big fan though.
I am a big fan,
Yeah.
yes. And obviously, for those of you guys who follow the MLS, there's also LAFC.
Right.
So I will not be one to jump ship just because there's one that's in downtown LA. Loyalty is loyalty.
Yeah.
And so people that would tell me, like even friends of mine who would be like, you should go to LAFC, I would get so annoyed.
Yeah.
Where I literally said, like, look, I'm not going to jump ship. Like, you just need to back off.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. Like,
I thought the same thing when they were like, because that was their thing, right? This is the real LA team. You guys are out there, and Carson. There you go.
Yeah. No, fuck that.
Yeah.
Oh, can I cuss?
Yeah. No, you can't.
I can't.
Of course you can.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll just have to put on the YouTube that little checkbox for not for kids. We'll just check that not for kids. It's okay. None of the no kids watch this, or they shouldn't at least. But yeah, we were saying, LA team. That's what they say, right? Oh, we're the real LA team. I mean, we're the first LA team just because we played in Carson, whatever. Like the Rams played in Anaheim at one time, and they were the LA Rams, right?
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. But
it's such an American thing.
It's an implant thing.
Yeah.
It's an implant thing.
Yeah.
Because you were born and raised here in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was born and raised here in LA County. I'm from West Covina, but it's still LA County.
Yeah.
I claim LA.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not an implant. I didn't come. That's what I think. Most LAFC fans are fans that jump ship right from Galaxy. They went to LAFC because what did they do? They brought bells and whistles. That's what they brought. They brought money, right?
Yeah.
LAFC.
I think too, though, that if you truly are a football,
Football.
soccer, as some of you guys call it, if you really are a true fan, you're not gonna jump ship. Doesn't matter if it's in your backyard. You're gonna stick to whatever team, and that's how it should be.
Right. Wins and losses, take them as it is.
If you go anywhere in the world, that's exactly how it is.
Yeah.
But Americans are known in every sport. You've seen Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg has a jersey for every team.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's a jersey.
At
whore.
first it was him and Ice Cube. Even though Ice Cube really goes Raiders only, but he'll show up at other events, like other baseball, basketball events, different teams, but it's money,
Yeah, money talks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But no, I agree, man. Like, sports should be that. That's exactly what it should be. And I've had a hard time with my kid with that because he grew up as a Niner fan, Dodgers, Lakers, right? That's how he grew up. In fact, in soccer, I'm a America fan, right? For La Liga Mexicana, and his parent or his mom, my wife, they're from Guadalajara, they're Jalisco, they're Chivas fans, right?
Yeah.
So you got a house divided right there.
Mm.
So he would jump back and forth. That's okay, that's fine. But I told him at some point, you're gonna have to choose.
Yeah, it's true.
And I believe he chose the America already. That's good. But with like football, I had a hard time with that because he fell in love with like Odell Beckham Jr. So he's asking like Santa Claus for a Giants jersey. And then all his buddies, now he's a little older, so all his buddies are Rams fans. So now he wants Rams jerseys and he's a Rams fan. And I told him, dude, you got to choose. And luckily, Kaepernick took us to the Super Bowl. And he was like, all right. He was starting to get persuaded a little bit more. Oh, no, I'm lying. That was when we actually went to the Super Bowl and played against the Chiefs. And that's when he was full 100% our Niner fan right there. So now he's like, I told him, there's no going back, dude. That's it. You're a Niner fan, or if you're out of my house. Dude.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. He's 10 years old.
Yeah.
He's got to learn.
Yeah, he's getting there.
Yeah,
he's getting at the age where he needs to pick.
He has to.
You
have to. So I told him, I mean, we're a little bit more loose when it comes to like football and basketball, but baseball, even my wife said, if you start going for another team other than the Dodgers, you're out of the house. Yeah, we'll find someone. We'll find a place for you to live.
Yeah.
We're joking. But or are we? but no, I agree. Sports fans, they should be loyal. Wins, losses, you have to be loyal. My thing that I have a problem with is, and lately, a lot, I'm turning into that old man, like get off my yard. Mm-hmm. Is these guys that think they're all general managers, and they're like, well, I wouldn't do that, and F this and F that, and I'm like, dude, just ride with your team, and it is what it is, fuck it. And the Dodgers prove that because so many fucking Dodger fans were talking so much shit.
So was I.
About Dave Roberts. Were you one of those?
Yes, because I think they had been to so many playoffs. Mm-hmm. And they would always finish the same way and couldn't finish it. I think it's warranted to complain. In that sense, mm-hmm. because it seemed like it was the same story every year. Yeah. So in that sense, I think people and the fans should complain to the front office and be like, all right, we've been through the same story a few years now, so mm-hmm. we demand change. Obviously it worked out good for us this year, right? Yeah. But I don't know. That's I
understand the frustration.
Yeah.
And I swear this is not a sports podcast. Yeah. But I understand the frustration that you just mentioned right now. But my thing is, they're in the playoffs every single year, World Series twice. What other team can do that for you, right? Now, I get it, loss at those times, but there's always another team that's better than you, even if they cheat, like the Astros, Astros. But like even if they cheat or if they someone's gonna beat you, someone's just better than you, and in 7 games, and that's the problem. Is like in 7 games they're better than us. Yeah, the way I see it. And this year, it proved wrong that Dave Roberts may have had some inefficiencies with his coaching and managing and the way he was utilizing his pitchers, but he learned now. He played it. If you watch this World Series, he played it totally different.
It took him a few years of failing to
get
it.
Yeah, but do you appreciate it more, or would you have rather have won and have your 3rd title right now? That's a stupid question. Because I would have rather had 3 titles right now. But it does make this one a lot better, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. But I think if they had lost, people would have demanded that the front office make changes.
Yeah, I think that would have been
that's the issue. Is like, it wasn't like 1 year. It was several years of the same kind of ending, mm-hmm. The same story and the same mistakes. Yeah. And I think that's where I guess I'm defending those who are complaining. Mm-hmm. Of course, they're not going to be general managers or anything, but, they're frustrated because they're like, it's the same shit, different year. Yeah. So, luckily they won. Yeah. So.
Otherwise,
he still has a job, I guess.
Yeah. No, and then they're probably gonna extend. I think he did get extended, but they're probably extending even more. No, who knows? But they won. The Lakers won. The Niners are probably not gonna win. That's another team that we have mutual liking for.
Yeah.
unfortunately the injury bug got us.
There's a meme of the 49ers logo, and it's like a player. It's like the handicap logo.
Have you seen that? No.
That was like our roster.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's like 20 guys that are injured, you know? And of those 25 of them are top 5, you know?
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah.
But
not a good year.
Yeah. Maybe this would be a perfect time for, I don't know if you follow him or how well you follow him, but let's get Jimmy out. I mean, I like Jimmy, but maybe he's not the guy for us.
Yeah.
Injury prone, or I don't know.
That's how I felt about Kaepernick, though. And a lot of people don't agree with me. But I felt like when we went to the playoffs, I felt like a lot of the games we were winning were field goals. And I kept telling my cousin, and I was like, I don't know, like a lot of these points are field goals.
Yeah, I think we had Robbie Gould, right? Robbie Gould.
It was like 3 points. We would go up 3 points. It wasn't a touchdown and a field goal.
Yeah. Oh no, Dawson. I'm sorry, it was Dawson.
So anyway, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the next 5 years.
Yeah, right. For us. Jeez, man, I don't know if I could do another one of these. Well, like I said, we're still gonna root for our team.
Exactly.
You know, no matter what, wins, losses, we're still gonna work.
Realistic.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about since you're a world traveler. I had to write down the places that you've been to because I just couldn't memorize them. So I'm gonna read them real quick, and then I want you to tell me about the fans. Since we're in the sports topic, the fans and how they are over there compared to us here.
Okay.
The UK, Peru, Mexico, Spain, Italy, Croatia, and that's to name a few. I'm sure there's more.
Yeah. So one of the times I went over to, we're talking about the MLS.
Okay.
You know, the fans, there's a lot of supporter groups here in the US that chant and sing.
Right.
When first time I went to Europe, we went to Spain, England, France. And I can't remember if there was another, but basically we bought tickets to soccer games in every country.
Nice. Yeah.
So we saw Barcelona, PSG, Manchester United, and Roma, Italy.
Damn.
And crazy. It compares nothing to what we have here. Yeah. It doesn't compare to any of these sports you have here.
Right. Soccer, manic. Football. Yes. It's just nuts.
I came back and I was like, wow, we're boring. Like we think we're having fun, we're chanting. Yeah. It's just on another level.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely when you hear hooligans or like groups, I mean, it's crazy.
Did you get to experience anything like that? Was there any like crazy like us versus you fights? Let's go after the game. Anything like that?
I didn't personally experience it. What I can tell you is that there's a lot of security at the games. So there was never any fights that I noticed in any of the games. I also did, I went back to France for the Euros. And we were in Lille, and that was crazy. It was we saw the Wales and Belgium game, and the subway. We took the subway. It was jam packed.
Chanting the whole way over there.
Yes, pre-COVID, we were in a car of the subway. The car was literally like Belgium fans, and they were jumping, singing. I have it on my Instagram actually.
Oh yeah.
You have to scroll all the way down, but I was like, oh my god, this is how I'm gonna die because I could feel like the train going like this. Yeah. But it's amazing. But that did happen. I think I didn't see anything crazy, but going back to that Belgium-Wales game, I saw men cry for the first time.
Wow.
Yes. So obviously I had never seen that. I've seen it on TV, but men were crying. And it was just like, wow. I believe Wales lost, if I'm not mistaken. But the guy next to us, he got a ticket and had the Wales flag, and he was crying. But I'm trying to remember, did they lose or they won? But anyways, the point is I've never seen a random man just sit there and cry. Yeah.
Jeez.
So I believe it now.
How long did it take you to adjust to all that? Or like, I'm sure at first you're kind of a little shocked taking it in, but how long did it take you to, or did you just go right away and, hey, I'm part of this, you know?
Oh, I loved it. But it was just me. I was not like out there being crazy with them. I think I was like that little girl in the candy store. Yeah. Like when we were in Roma, when we went to go see Roma, we took like an Uber to the stadium, and people, you know, they have little like mopeds and, you know, little motorcycles and everyone in their jersey like driving to the stadium, and I've never seen that here. You don't see like a bunch of like cars all together with flags on the freeway going to the game. And so I literally was like a little girl, just like, wow, just taking it all in. So in that sense, when you come back to the States, right, it's like, yeah, everyone's having fun, drinking, but we're very tamed.
Well, it's more of a social event, isn't it? Here,
over there, it's a religion. It's crazy. Yeah.
Well, I've only, obviously I've never been, so I just see from movies and stuff that I watch,
That's exactly what you see in the movies. Is exactly how it is.
I remember watching this movie called, I think it was called Soccer Hooligans. You ever watch it?
I have
with
not.
What's that kid? Oh, he's not a kid. He's a man. But and it's not Shia LaBeouf, but he has a name like Shia LaBeouf. But this guy was God, what's his actor's name? Blue eyes, looks like a baby. Did you remember the movie Sin City?
Yes.
Do you remember that teenage looking dude with the eyes and he would slice people up?
Yeah, vaguely. Yeah.
That's the actor I'm talking about. I don't know his name. I'm sure someone will say it, but it's called Soccer Hooligans, and it was with the guy, another one, Charlie Dunham. No, not Dunham. The guy from Sons of Anarchy.
I love him.
You know that? You know who I'm talking about?
Charlie
Okay.
Hunnam.
What's his name?
Charlie
Hunnam. Okay.
Love him.
Yeah. Well, I can't think of the other guy's name. But anyways, there's a movie called Soccer Hooligans with those two cats right there.
Yeah.
Great movie. Oh my God.
Watch it. You
got to watch
it.
Heard
of it.
You got to I'm going to take notes for you.
Yes, please.
That's a good movie though. And it has everything to do with that. The fighting, well, I mean, that's what it's called. It's Soccer Hooligans, and it's about the fighting. That's the end. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. It's 10, 15-year-old movie, but it's a great movie. You should watch it.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Yeah.
It's intense.
I'm gonna watch it because I love that stuff. Obviously, me being a woman, I would try to stay away from any fights and stuff like that. But the passion that are across the world is on another level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you get to do the traveling? Like, did you just take 2 years off and just, hey, I'm gonna go try everything out, or this is done throughout?
Yeah. No, throughout the years, it'll take 2 to 3 weeks off.
Nice.
And then just the thing is that if you're gonna go to Europe or anywhere in the world, that's the most expensive flight, right? Is getting there.
Yeah.
Once you're there, it's like to go to Spain from England. It's like, $100. It's like an hour flight. So when you go over there, take as much as you can.
Yeah.
So it would always be like, okay, we're gonna do 3 countries this year.
Nice.
While we're in Europe, because Europe is very small.
Yeah.
In comparison,
right.
So definitely
a lot of train rides and.
Yeah. So from England to Paris, we took the Eurostar that goes underground, and it was like a few hours. I think it was like $60-$70.
Nice.
To get there, so
to get to another country.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So that's my advice for you guys: is if you do go to Europe, the most expensive thing is getting there from the U.S.
Yeah.
And once you're over there, take advantage of the different countries.
Nice.
Because it's they're an hour to hour and a half flight.
Yeah.
So.
And obviously do all kinds of research back home.
Before, yes.
Yeah.
Go on Pinterest, guys. If you look up
Pinterest.
Yes. So if you look up on Pinterest, let's say you want to go to Peru, Cusco, you look up Cusco, Peru, and it'll give you results, and then you'll see people's blogs. People write blogs of don't do this, don't do that. We did this and we messed up, blah blah blah.
Wow.
So then they give you like, go at this time, da da da, and then you take from each.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
I'm still thrown off on Pinterest because I thought Pinterest was like how to do, like how to.
Well, yeah. So how to travel?
Oh shit! No.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Now I just learned something new.
Yes.
That's man. When you stayed out there, did you stay at any like hostels or anything like that?
No,
or okay.
I'm too bougie.
I like
I like having the shower, the clean
yeah,
bed. Well, of course we've heard horror stories of hotels here and there, but yeah, that's just me.
I'm just thinking
but there's nothing wrong with it.
The movie hostel, I was like, oh man, that's why I would never stay at anything like that just because of the movie.
Yeah.
But that's pretty cool though. So you've done a lot of traveling and still plans to do more, right?
Yes. So obviously before Corona hit, I was gonna go to Paris for 7 days, to do kind of tours, of the fashion world, because I like fashion historian podcasts.
Right.
But obviously it was gonna be in June, and then COVID hit, so it was postponed.
Yeah.
Everything's been paid for, so I accept my flight. So going back to the whole me being a nurse thing,
right.
and a conspiracy theorist, I noticed the COVID. It wasn't COVID-19 yet. It wasn't named yet in the beginning of January, and I started to follow it. So I hadn't booked my flight, and then I noticed as the word started to spread that the prices went from 1,600 to 900. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait more.
Yeah,
you know, maybe I can get it cheaper. Maybe it's gonna go Next thing you know, I was like, boom, everything collapsed. So I was like, oh, thank God I didn't buy it. Because some people were having trouble getting their entire money back, or they were getting only credits back. So I was like, at least I don't have to deal with that. But yeah, so hopefully in June.
So you still everything you said is paid for. You still be able to take that trip, just not.
So we just postponed it. The group postponed it. Nice. Yeah.
That's kind of crazy though, that this whole pandemic. I mean, it's a little crazy, right?
Yeah.
Everything that's been going on. As far as work for you though, has it changed much?
It has changed much. So obviously, I wear a mask now every time I work. I started wearing masks, being me following the stuff in January.
Yeah.
But I was only wearing my surgical mask. As I noticed by March, I was using an N95 with a surgical mask on top. Excuse me.
It's all right.
Just because I became super paranoid. Yeah. And at the time, we didn't really know. There was this whole debate of whether it was airborne droplets.
Right.
But because I kept reading more scientific journals from other countries, I was like, it's airborne. So I'm just going to double mask. And to this day, I haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of uncertainty at first.
Yeah.
So, and, you know, my field is in people's homes. Our organization kind of took a hit because hospitals were keeping a lot of the patients. You know, all of a sudden hospitals shut down almost, right?
Yeah.
So it's getting better now. We're busier. I still haven't. I've had a few COVID, but this was like in the beginning.
Yeah.
I haven't had any since. Hospitals are keeping the COVID patients.
We say you had a few COVID patients that are okay.
This was like in March.
Okay.
Yeah, and then now I haven't had any. So I think a lot of the hospitals are keeping them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I think hospice, I think an actual brick and mortar hospital that you go and clock in and clock out, and you work at that hospice, but you're actually on the field.
I'm on the field. Yeah. Okay. So a lot of hospices that are privately owned, or even some that are nonprofit, go to people's homes. You know, if you knew you had 6 months or less to live, where would you want to die?
Yeah, at home.
A lot of people would say, I'd want to die at home. Some people do want to die in the hospital.
Yeah.
You know, but a lot of people would say, I would want to die at home. And so this allows people to have their final days at home.
Right.
And so the job of the team is to make sure that the family has all the tools. You know, we're not there with them for hours, just the time that's needed for the visit, but just to make sure that they're comfortable, whatever that means, because not everyone has pain, right?
Right.
Not, some people have shortness of breath because they have issues with their lungs, or, you know, they were smokers. So now it's finally caught up to them, or, you know, so everyone's different. But the goal is to make sure that they're comfortable and that the family's comfortable with the process.
Yeah.
Everyone's process is different, but there's certain things that kind of always happen, just different timelines for different people.
Right.
Yeah. So that's essentially what I do. So I just go to their homes, and, you know, that we are a team approach. So we have social workers, chaplains, we have a bathing nurse, we have volunteers. Although because of COVID, we're not using the volunteers right now. They're usually really young people who are volunteering.
Yeah, trying to get into the biz, right? Or industry, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Or some people need it for school, you know?
Yeah, need the hours, right?
Yes. So definitely, you know, things are a little bit different now. So in that sense, it's changed. Before it would be, you know, people are weird about the flu vaccine, for example. Right. So hospitals and employers would be like, if you don't want to take the flu vaccine, that's okay, but that means you have to wear a mask the whole flu season. So now we were just laughing because we were like, well, now we're wearing masks.
We're wearing masks anyways, yeah. So it's a state mandated thing now, so you have to,
Yeah.
But so when you would go in there, like you said, it's like shifts, right? Everybody has different things to do. Your thing, what was it? Your specialty, if you will.
As far as
when you do your visits at.
So it really varies. So without going into too many details, like I just had a family where they understood that the patient was terminal. He had cancer, inoperable. He didn't want anything. He just wanted to stay home, be comfortable.
Yeah.
There was a lot of emotional issues in that sense.
Yeah.
From different. So I play a role of therapist, where I'm there to sit there and I try to validate both the patients and their spouses' feelings.
Right.
You know, so sometimes
Kids,
we're mediators. Yes. And then sometimes I'm essentially a nurse, you know. I've had like an elderly husband who can't change the diaper of their dying wife, so I'll do it on my visits, you know. We do wound care, stuff like that. But a lot of the thing that comes with hospice is that you're essentially like a therapist as well. Plus you're really good at managing pain. And it's just education. Sometimes people come out and they're like, I always ask, you know, on my first meeting, so tell me, what have the doctors told you? Because that lets me know where they're at.
Yeah.
And so not all doctors, there are a growing number of doctors who have better bedside manner, that are more educating, but they're also very busy.
Yeah.
So sometimes families only know like the tip of the problem.
Yeah,
so then that gives
the headline.
I do a lot of education, and I try to explain it in terms that they would understand.
Make them feel comfortable, right?
Yes. Yeah. So then when things start to happen, or when I'm educating them, they'll be like, yeah, mom has been losing weight for 2 years. Yeah. Or yeah, everything you're telling us is happening. Or when it starts to happen, they're already like, okay, this is what she said was going to happen. Yeah. So that's the goal, so that when the time comes, they're not completely shocked. Because I think a lot of us think that we're going to die in our sleep. That would be the best thing, right?
Right. Best case scenario.
But it's a very slow process. For a lot of people. Yeah. You know, we age is just very slow. We start losing. It's like a car. Yeah. Slowly starts to break down, right. You know. So that's essentially, it varies from person to person. So sometimes families don't want to talk because they get it. They're like, mom has everything set up. She has her mortuary. She has this. Yeah. This, we understand. We just want her to be happy. And so those are the easiest cases. Right. The harder ones are where there's denial, or where the diagnosis came super quick and they're younger.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you. So it's not all elderly. You have some younger kids.
Sometimes
kids, maybe even.
In our organization, we don't do kids, but there are hospices that do pediatrics. Yeah. You know, I don't think I could do that.
That'd be, imagine. Wow.
Yeah.
And how do you compartmentalize, you know, with all this, you know, you used to go home, you know, you have your life, you like to travel, watch sports. How do you not bring that home?
I had to learn. I guess I can speak for my mom. So the way I am, so even when I lived with my mom, and then I also lived with my ex before, I would come home, and if I had like a shitty day, a lot of times these shitty days were mental days where I just wanted to be quiet, didn't want to talk to anyone, you know, and so they would always be like, oh my God, like, you don't want to talk. Like, it had nothing to do with them. Yeah. I don't think they understood the scope of what we see. We see crazy shit.
Oh, I'm sure.
We see the most beautiful things, and we see the craziest things where you're just like, wow, people are shady, you know. Yeah. So sometimes it is hard to not feel, but I've been doing it for 14, 15 years now, so you just kind of learn, and you know,
it's a learning curve.
It's not for everyone. Yeah. It's not for everyone. We've had nurses with ER experience come and be like, quit after a month because they're like, wow, this is too much.
I'd rather see blood and guts.
Yes. Yeah. So I did the operating room for a year, and I didn't feel like I had patient care. So I was like, this isn't for me. And then I like this because it's very nurturing and mothering and teaching. Yeah. So there's nursing for every type of, you know, I could never do pediatrics, you know, so I respect every field of nursing, but for me, I feel like this was my calling.
So this wasn't your first choice, right?
No, I watched Grey's Anatomy, and I was like, I want to work in the OR, and that was my dream. And after a year, I said, fuck this, I hate it. Yeah. You know,
there's no McDreamy here.
I mean, there was a few, but it's just the nice thing about nursing, and just like doctors or, you know, therapists, is that there's different fields where your personality fits. So people who probably aren't people. Yeah. People persons. Is that what you
people
say?
persons? Yeah.
they might like the OR because they're not dealing with patients, you know, because you deal with people's bullshit sometimes, you know. But I'm very motherly, so it wasn't for me. Yeah.
That's that customer service thing. You got it down.
I love it, and I love teaching. You know?
Well, it's a form of service. You know, that's what it is. It's like a civil service, so to speak. You know.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why, you know, obviously the podcast, I love it. Your topics, and we'll get into that. But I wanted to have you on because when I heard you were a nurse, and this goes back months, right? I even talked to my wife, and she's like, maybe you should wait a little bit after the pandemic stuff because you don't know how she feels about coming out here, you know. But you know, I think there's been enough time where, you know, and then plus we take care of ourselves. I always got the mask. We're 6 feet away. We did an air bump earlier, but I fascinating about this topic of being around someone during their last moments in life, and not to mention how important it is for them to have someone like you come in and give them that attention, you know, because I'm sure that not all of them have a husband, a wife, kids around to be there for them, whether you may be the only person that they see, or you and some, you know, people in your crew,
or you know, like they didn't have kids but they outlived all their friends and all their family. So we do have, you know, patients who are on service who look forward to our visits, because they're like, you know, someone's coming to visit me. I mean, there's a lot of people that are elderly, are lonely, or you know, they're in nursing homes and their kids don't visit. And then you have families who are all there. They're all taking shifts, you know. And so, and that's what I was saying. You see really beautiful things, and then you see a lot of sad stories. It's I mean, I can tell you so many things. I've been doing it for so long. I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff I've seen, stuff that makes me think about spirituality.
Oh wow.
I mean, oof. I should write a book. I really should.
That was, you know what? I was gonna say either a second podcast of just nursing, you know, things, or a book. Yeah, that'd be another one. But I mean, I don't know, is there a law or like I know there's like HIPAA law, right? You can't disclose public or private information like that, right? But like a story, would you be able to tell us something that like you said that you would question?
Oh yeah, there because you're not saying anyone's name or
correct.
anything.
Okay, yeah.
But essentially the HIPAA law, for those of you who don't know, is you shouldn't be able to talk about any of private information of any of your patients to anyone that's not in the core of the care.
Right.
But yeah, there's we have so many stories that we talk about from like 15 years ago. As long as you're omitting, you know, the personal stuff, you know.
Yeah. Would you like to share one with me?
Well, what kind?
Something crazy. You just said right now that something that would question your belief in religion.
Okay, so I grew up Catholic.
Okay.
Although I'm not Catholic, I decided at 16 that it wasn't for me, and I went to Catholic private school my whole life. But working in this field, you meet people who are atheists, Buddhist, Muslim, Hindu, you name it, you know, and I think in the end, the spirituality is still the same.
Yeah.
Where people believe in the spiritual, right? Let's take religion out. The afterlife.
Yeah.
Some people believe in it. Some people don't. What we see a lot with our patients is, now I'm going to give you both sides, right?
Okay.
A lot of times they'll start saying like, oh, look, Jason's here. And I already was like, okay, there's no one here.
Yeah.
And then I already kind of know, but because I've been doing it for so long, I'll ask the relatives, now, who's Jason? And they always say the same thing. Oh, that's so-and-so who died 20 years ago. So I see that with pretty much 99% of my patients. Towards the end, they start hallucinating.
That's the white light.
A lot of people believe that that's what that is. And it really depends on what you believe. Right. The other argument is maybe it's the lack of oxygen, right? The brain is starting to, you know.
Science gets in there, yeah.
But that's one of the things that we definitely see a lot, is that when they're really getting close, whether it's weeks from death, they start to hallucinate. Or are they hallucinating? Maybe they are seeing that. And it's always someone that's died. So that creeps people out.
Yeah.
But I'm used to it. So I already know when they mention someone and there's no one else in the room. I ask the relative and they're like, oh, yeah, they already died. And I'm like, yeah, I figured.
Yeah. So they get weirded out. No, most of the time when you say that, like,
some people do get weirded out, but I've usually the way you want to get around it is letting them know right off the bat. As time progresses, they might start saying weird stuff. So a lot of families are like, "You were right," you know. So
I know I experienced a little bit like that with my aunt. She was dying of cancer, and I was in her room in her deathbed. It was a few days before she passed, and yeah, I definitely experienced some of that hallucination that you're talking about, you know, and like, you know, just stories that she was just talking about and just random, you know, things, and it's just like that's kind of when I knew, like, well, I couldn't really explain it, but I knew that it was, you know, her time.
Something,
you know,
was
yes,
and that happens with 99% of the patients.
Yeah.
I knew this lady who she was already getting ready to go, and she kept talking to her mom, and this is an elderly lady, and her feet were really swollen, and she kept saying, "Mom, I can't reach you, my feet are heavy." You know, and I was like, okay, it's time, she's getting ready. So I wanted to take her blood pressure, so I went to, she hadn't opened her eyes in days, and I went on her side of the bed, and she was like, "No, move." I was like, okay. And I moved, and then she was calm. She had anxiety that I would go stand on that side.
Really?
So maybe someone was there. Maybe her mother was there. But none of that creeps me out.
Yeah.
And I know that would creep people out, you know, but again, it could be the fact that the brain is misfiring or lack of oxygen.
Yeah.
Or it could be the spiritual world.
It's again whatever you believe, though, right? So that's what it comes down to at the very end of the day. It's a trip. Well, I think but it's really special though that you can provide that. And I know it's your work, but this is something that you love to do.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why you're doing it, you know, 14, 15 years. I think it's special that you and others like you are doing something like that, you know, again, work, but it's something that needs to be done for those people that are on their way out. And that was one of my points is, you know, we so often forget about our elderlies, right? Like I myself, I'm terrible at it, you know, is that we forget, you know, they lived a long life. Some of them might have been really good, but some of them might have been fucked up. And there's times when I'm just like, God, crazy old man, you know, like I get pissed, but I forget that, like, you know, you got to give that old timer some little bit of respect, because you don't know when it's their last days, and or you don't know what they're going through, that it could be their last days. But I don't know, I just kind of think about that sometimes out loud.
It can be kind of depressing.
Yeah.
But like I said, a lot of people, I try to educate families is just talk about death openly. My mom, you know, we're Latinos. My grandmother and my mom are complete opposite. My grandmother is like, I have my plot, cemetery paid for. This is what I want. If I can't eat naturally, let me go. Da, da, da. And my mom's the type of person like, let's not talk about it. You're calling death.
Wow.
You know, and so my grandmother put me as a durable power of attorney, meaning if she can no longer make her decisions, she's putting me to take over. And she told my mom and her husband, I don't trust neither of you to respect my wishes. Damn. So I'm putting her in charge. Yeah. And I was like, okay.
That's cool. I mean, she's able to see that though, right? You know, because that's.
But not everyone's like her.
Yeah.
You know, some people want to live to 120. When does that happen?
Yeah.
There's a lot of denial. I had a patient 115 years old.
Wow.
That's a blessing in itself.
Right.
The family was in denial.
Jeez.
So those are the hard cases I have to deal with, you know? But you also have cases of people who don't have a chance to process and grieve their demise, or, you know, them declining. And so those are hard too, because you're trying to educate them in a short period of time, and usually those are cancer patients where it's like they found it really late, or it's just a very aggressive form. So those are mentally very taxing. But yeah, the hardest ones are the denial cases. And you know, I'm not trying to throw shade at our people, but Latinos are very difficult. When I get
100% agree with you on
when
that
I
one.
literally get like a Latino patient, Hispanic patient, I'm like, oh, and I'm Latina, right? I'm like, fuck, this is gonna be a lot of work. Because we love our loved ones, you know what I mean? But for some reason, it's like, I don't know what it is. You know, I'm very Americanized. But those are the hardest cases for me, where I have to educate a lot and a lot of hand holding, you know. But I've noticed that when the third generation Latinos come in, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
I think it's the first generations where I think they're not used to
it has to be
systems.
some cultural thing in Mexico or like, you know, in
different
whatever
cultures,
different cultures, but it has to be that, you know, it's like a taboo kind of thing. You don't talk about that. There's a lot of things that we don't talk about, you know, health, you know, health problems. Those are some of the important things that we should be discussing, you know, especially health problems, because that leads to what? Death, but in most cases.
Yeah.
So these are a lot of things that we need to talk about. Weird uncles, you know, like, or aunts, you know, like you need to talk about that. Cause no, seriously, like I say that very jokingly, but those are the kind of things that we need to talk about. And a lot of times they don't talk about, oh, we don't talk about that. That's just your special uncle.
Yeah.
Not that I have a special uncle or anything like that.
No, but true.
But you know what I mean? Like,
it really, really is true, because, you know, there was this thing I saw on TikTok.
Yeah.
Where there's like, when you're an adult and you're putting all the gossip or little things, tidbits you heard as a kid together, and then you're like, oh shit, there was drama in my family. Like,
that's true.
We try to shield our kids, right? My parents try to shield me a lot, you know. I have an uncle who is a drug addict. I didn't know that. They try to shield me. I came to the conclusion. Now I openly ask my dad, like, so what's up? You know, like,
right, yeah.
Makes total sense now. But I think there are cultures, like the Japanese culture.
Yeah.
I've not run into any issues. They are like, this is happening. Everything's planned. They celebrate it. And you know, you would think Latinos do por Dia de los Muertos, right?
Right.
But no, they're my hardest cases. Yeah. So us who are, we call it the Hispanic panic.
Oh yeah. I've heard that many times.
Yeah. So us nurses that are like Hispanic are like, oh, and we'll ask when we hear a crazy, like we'll vent to each other, and they're like, oh, are they Hispanic? How'd you know? We're like, yeah, the Hispanic panic. Like,
yeah. Jeez.
Yeah.
When you get a case and you see the last name, you're like, oh, you're like hoping it's second or third generation, right?
So what I'm getting at is the reality is that we're all gonna die. So why not plan for it now, right? We're not, no lo estamos llamando. We're not calling it, right? We're just gonna plan for it now. A lot of times, you guys know mortuaries. You see the GoFundMe stuff when people die unexpectedly.
Right.
It's a fucking business. So they're there to make money off of you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So why not pay for it in advance? You know, tell your family what it is you want, what you don't want them to spend on. Right. You know, because some of these places will charge you $20,000. Yeah. But if you did your homework, you could probably get something for $1,000 somewhere else. Yeah. You just have to do your homework, because we live in America, capitalist country. Yeah. So I tell people that, you know, and it doesn't matter how young, have an idea of what you want. Start telling your loved ones, if this happens, you know, it doesn't mean you're calling it. Because trust me, I have that argument with my mom all the time.
I think life insurance is a very important thing to have. You know, like I got mine at a very young age. I didn't plan on dying anytime when I got mine. I got mine at 20. I think I was 22 years old when I got my life insurance. You were really young. Yeah, you know, so I'm like, but I knew that was something that I needed to have. You know, like in case something happened, no one has to deal with it. You know, I haven't done a what do you call it? Is it a will, a deed?
Yeah, a will or a will
trust.
Well, will would be what you want.
That's a will.
Yeah,
and then
but the trust is more like money wise.
Oh, okay.
That's more complex.
Yeah.
But I would suggest, if you haven't already had these conversations, is just plan for the worst with your wife. You know, sit down and be like, okay, so Mary brought up a good point. So what would we do if this were to happen, or this were to happen? You know, this, so that way you guys know where both of you stand, right? Then when you have one son?
I have two.
So let's say now they're older enough to understand. You're getting older. You already know where you and your wife stand. So then you start talking to them about it. Right. You know, or let's say Tia or Tio over here, they're already in their 20s, they're dying. So then you start having that conversation with them. You know, if this were to happen to us, this is what we want. So that when the time comes 30 years later, they already know this is what dad wanted. Yeah. This is what mom wanted. I've had families fight. Grandma's 98 years old. She's not eating. One daughter wants tube feeding, which is they surgically place a tube in your stomach and feed you, essentially like ensure and boost. And then the other one was saying, why are we prolonging the inevitable? Why are we doing this to mom? Right. So those are the conversations they probably should have had a long time, because then here we are mediating, you know, and ask kind of like therapists and saying, so why do we want to keep her alive? Are we doing it for us or for her?
Yeah.
So those are the kind of conversations that we have. And so whenever I get a chance to speak to someone, I always say, just have these conversations openly.
Yeah.
You know, that way when the time comes, everyone's on the same page. And if you can no longer make decisions, you know that you've made your wants of what you wanted known. Mm-hmm. So that's another part of the job.
It makes a lot of sense. So that we should have that, that open dialogue. You should have that at home, friends, cousins, any relatives. Let everybody know. Come to my podcast, talk about it in your podcast, record it. We'll digitize it for you. But you had mentioned earlier to me when I was talking to you about my grandma, how I wanted to interview her, right? And I wanted to record her. So again, digitize her story, her life story kind of thing. You said something about like a printout or some pamphlet. Is that something that you guys give out to people?
In regards to
their life story or
life review.
Right. Okay. Life review.
So you said you wanted to have her record or you wanted to have her in a podcast to talk about stuff. So I said, why don't you do a life review where you can just buy her a recorder and then she can probably record her story. Yeah. So sometimes we do that from birth till whatever time they want so they can leave it to their families. We don't necessarily give them a pamphlet per se when it comes to life reviews, but you want to know who your loved ones are because once they're gone,
they take everything with them, all their stories and everything they take with them. Yeah.
So let's say, she has amazing stories, maybe she's a badass bitch, right? Your sons will never know that, right? So, it'd be nice for them because they're going to reach an age where they might have curiosity.
Of course,
and are going to want to know, There was this thing I saw on the internet, which was a picture. I think there was different portraits of elderly people looking in the mirror. Have you seen it?
No.
I'm going to look at it for you. So it's literally portraits of elderly. It's like art.
Okay.
They're elderly, frail, just like what you'd see grandpa, great grandpa looking in the mirror. And the person in the mirror is who they were young. That to me is powerful.
Yeah.
Because they were military people, nurses, doctors, you name it, lawyers. So how do we not forget our,
all the in between, from that moment and to where they are now, like everything that happened in between. I mean, we talked about that.
So buy her a recorder. Yes, life review.
Yeah. No, I'm either gonna record with her, but or maybe just set up a recorder and let her do it on her own time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only that, we're all very digitized now.
Right.
All of our pictures are on the fucking cloud.
Yeah.
We should print our pictures out.
I was thinking the same thing.
Because when we die, where's our password? Who's gonna know our password?
Well, not that. What if everything's gone? Like, hey, no more internet, you guys. Yeah. Like, we're going back to caveman, time.
Print them out.
We gotta print them out.
So I'm sure she has a lot of pictures.
Oh yeah.
So do a little photo album, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Who's going to keep them, I go into people's homes who have pictures that are 200 years old. No, wow. I'm exaggerating. 100 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm always in awe when I walk in. And, my family doesn't have that. The farthest back we can go is like my grandmother. And from there, we just don't have pictures. So some families are blessed that they have generations and generations of pictures.
I'm glad a lot of my tias, my mom, they have those pictures, they have albums like crazy. They have video from when the video came out, but the photos, they have a lot of them, so that's cool.
Who's gonna keep those when they're no longer here?
Yeah,
something to think about, guys.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So, I mean,
I didn't mean to get so deep.
No. This is something that we need. We talked about. We need to talk about this. Something needs to get talked about. And I had told you maybe a podcast of just nursing. But you had mentioned write a book. That'd be even better. The memoir, the Mary Escobar memoir of nursing. Yeah. That'd be pretty cool. But going back to the podcast, and there's no way to segue from the nursing. So I'm just gonna go out and say podcasting. That's a good segue. Purposely Curious.
Yes.
How did you get started with it?
So I am a very chatty person.
Yeah.
Remember I told you I grew up Catholic,
right.
And then I decided at the age of 16 that I didn't want to. I was just like, it's not for me. Mm-hmm. I was very literal.
Wait, I'm sorry. Were you still in Catholic school when you decided it's not for me? So you finished.
It was like the year after I did my confirmation. So I did everything because that's what you were supposed to do.
Right.
My mom put me in the school. I went to church because that's what you were supposed to do. Mm-hmm. you know, even then, I think we would leave. My mom would drop. We had to leave donations for the school at the church. So my mom would put money in their drive. I would run in, leave the donation, and leave. That's just to show you what kind of Catholics we were. So, my dad was kind of like an atheist, and my dad is a very smart man. Yeah. He's not anymore. He's not
a smart man anymore?
No.
joking.
Well, it depends. But he believes in God now. Okay. You know, he's a recovering alcoholic, so one of the steps of AA is to accept
one of the 12, right? I think.
Yeah, it's to accept God, whatever that is, that spiritual awakening that they have. So he definitely is religious now. But growing up, his thing was documentaries. You know, let's watch this, let's watch that. So I grew into that. Yeah. And so I would question. I was always questioning things. And so I had mentioned, like, you know, the Bible says you shouldn't idolize people that aren't God. Yeah. So then I would be like, well, Dad, then why are we idolizing saints? Like, that makes no sense to me. You know, like, that's when I decided to not be Catholic. Because I just felt like it's not for me. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. I'm just not a believer of religion. Right. And being a hospice nurse, that taught me that I have met people who are so-called Christians who are shitty-ass people that I've seen them at their worst as a hospice nurse. I have seen people who are Buddhist who have done more work for other, you know, just for others. And so I believe that it's not about religion. Yeah. It's about who you are as a person. Yeah. If that makes any sense.
I mean, I agree. Religion is like a guide to what your faith, you know, whatever faith it is. It's just a guide, but doesn't mean you have to follow that guide to a T.
Right. And again, this is just my belief, right? Yeah. That was the first time I started to get curious about stuff. And so in high school, I started to really delve into different subjects. And I'm just giving you like a long story. I should probably shorten it. The point is, as I got older, I started to meet more people, and I got more curious, and I started to educate myself. And so I would just felt like a lot of the conversations I would have with people were super deep conversations once the ball got rolling, right? Once you got to know them, just like we are right now, conversations would get deep. Then so the curious mind in me was always there since school, right? Then I stumbled on podcasts. And then I was like, wow, you know, there's a podcast for everything. Yeah,
so much information.
Super intrigued. Then I would have conversations and I would be like, that could have totally been a podcast. Because essentially, me working in hospice, going to people's homes, I'm driving a lot. So I would be listening to podcasts. And I felt like they were my friends and they were having deep-ass conversations, whatever the subject may be. So when I would have deep conversations, I was like, that could be an episode for a podcast. And I did that for years. 3 years probably. Just I should do this. I should do it. Never did it. And then finally this year I decided I'm going to do it, and I did it. Yeah. So, and luckily COVID hit, so that really gave me something to do. Because I live.
You don't hear that often. Luckily COVID hit.
Unfortunately, yeah. It's not a good thing.
No, I know.
COVID
I got you.
Not a good thing.
There's a lot of things that came out of it.
Me.
Yes.
It motivated
Gave you time to sit down and really think about what's next.
Yeah, so it really motivated me. And so that's where the purposely curious comes, is I'm just a curious person that questions everything. Yeah. So
I like it. No, I enjoy. I'm a fan, you know. Again, I don't remember how I stumbled across the podcast, but I did, and I'm glad I did. A lot of good content. I mean, we're talking about episodes. We said what? UFOs, music, movies. Yeah. Kurt Cobain, right? That's conspiracies, right? Yeah. It's on and on, you know. We had teased on the tap room of the next, hopefully podcast that you do, or with or episode I should say, with the Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. Yeah. That'd be pretty interesting.
I'm gonna start looking into it. And delving into the YouTube black hole. I call it the black hole. What did you call it?
The rabbit hole, right?
The rabbit hole. Yes.
It is. It's just videos after videos, but I mean, they can consume you. Yeah. Next thing you know, it's like 2-3 hours later, and you're like, oh, I should probably go to sleep.
Yes. Yes. So when I have done more than one episode on the same subject, it's probably because after I did that episode, I continued online. And then I was like, I need to do another one. You know?
Yeah, here's an update. Yeah. No, I'm sure we're going to get another update with, because obviously Britney's still not free. So we'll probably get another free Britney update.
Yeah.
You know, the Johnny Depp one still going on, you know, like.
Yeah, he just lost the lawsuit.
Oh, did
England.
he?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
What's that chick's name? Heather something?
Amber Heard.
Oh, Amber Heard.
Yeah, we don't like Amber Heard over here.
Yeah, that's talking about attention.
Yeah, and that's another thing. But it's just essentially the podcast is just whatever intrigues me. You know, anything that's questionable.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I do interview. My last guest he's a photographer for rock stars.
Right. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So I mean, I thought, like, hey, let's go ahead and interview you. You know, so sometimes I pick a subject where I'm just specifically talking about a subject that intrigues me, and sometimes I'm actually interviewing someone that I'm curious about learning. Like, hey, what is it like to photograph rock stars? You know?
Which one do you prefer? A podcast where you're just talking about a subject that you like, that interests you, or sitting and talking to somebody, a friend, someone you're getting to know, and talking about what they like, their passion, what their projects are?
I like both. Mm-hmm. The easier part is interviewing someone because I don't really have to do too much homework.
Yeah.
You know, mm-hmm. When I'm doing it on a subject, I'm doing homework. I'm taking notes. I did the one on Tesla.
Oh, yeah.
You know how Tesla, a lot of the stuff we are using now for technology, Tesla patented.
Yeah.
But why did they oppress them? There's also a movie on Tesla and Edison. Mm-hmm. I mean, so I had to do homework and come up with all these things. And so that's a little bit more work, but I love them both the same. Yeah. I think it's easier to interview someone.
Yeah. Where does your somewhat of a co-host, right, Leone, how does he come in?
So Leone was my first guest. So Leone is a very smart man. He used to work at a radio station. He also is a co-host of the Boo Crew, which is essentially a horror culture podcast, and it's very successful. They have a lot of celebrities. They had Megan Fox on. The lead singer of Bush recently, anything, related, like people are calling them. We want our people to be on there now. Yeah. So he was my first guest. Yeah. And so he's the one who helped me kind of get it. I kind of asked him for advice on, I was like, I want to do a podcast, and I'm reading this blog, and they're all telling me different things. So I was feeling discouraged, and he guided me towards the light.
Nice. Yeah.
And then COVID hit. So I think I had the third interview, and then COVID hit. Nobody was going anywhere, quarantining. That sucks, yeah. So Leone basically was like, well, I can do episodes with you remotely, so because he didn't want me to get cold. Right. And that was my fear, because I was discouraged. I was like, fuck, like, how am I
And we just talked about consistency, right?
Yes. Yeah. So essentially, my podcast was going to be me interviewing people. Mm-hmm. That was the beginning. And so COVID hit, it shifted into where it was like, okay, let's do a subject. And it was just me and him initially. After, I think, the first 3, I had interviews, right? Yeah. Then it was just me and him, and I started to do subjects that I interested. So you see how it changed. Mm-hmm. Then as we started to get more comfortable and people knew how to kind of either do it remotely, or people were more comfortable with how they were taking precautions with COVID, right, I started to slowly incorporate interviews. Yeah. But initially the goal was for me to interview people. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But thank you, Leone, and I've thanked him a million times because honestly, if it wasn't for him suggesting that, I don't know that I would have continued it. Yeah. Because it was a weird time in March, right? It was just
it was. No one's going out. We just didn't know. We didn't. It was the unexpected. We didn't know what was gonna happen next.
Yeah. So, and now I have 37 episodes.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks to him.
There you go. It's so fun. I mean, you enjoy doing it, right? The podcasting. Any plans of stopping the podcasting at all? Were you ever felt like discouraged, other than the pandemic thing? Like, where you're just like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. No. Have you ever had that feeling?
No.
That's good.
No. Although I had mentioned to you earlier is that sometimes I do get busy or I need a mental break. So sometimes I may not record every week.
Yeah.
But I don't foresee that, at least, in the near future, of me stopping. I have followed podcasters who've been doing it for years, and they sometimes say we can't do this anymore for every reason. So I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
But definitely there are weeks I can go weeks, like a few weeks without recording, just because life happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you call yourself a podcaster, or are you just podcasting?
I say podcasting.
Podcasting.
I don't know. I have met people who are very gun ho about being a podcaster.
Yeah.
I'm more just going with the flow.
Yeah. Right.
So that's just my game plan, but that's just the personality type that I am. So I've never, that's a good question, because I want to say I'm podcasting. I've never called myself a podcaster before, right, but I had never thought of it.
Well, I mean, and the reason why I ask is because that's one of the questions that goes by my mind all the time, where I've used the hashtag podcaster, but I never consider myself a podcaster. I've been doing it for a little over 2 years, and I still will say that I'm just podcasting.
Yeah.
I guess maybe once I start getting paid, maybe like sponsorships or something start coming in, maybe I can start saying podcaster. But as of right now, I think I'm just podcasting. Like one would be fishing, or whatever, skateboarding, like a hobby, you know what I mean? So that's kind of the question that I've always, so when I get a podcaster on, I always tend to ask, like, are you a podcaster or podcasting?
I guess I'm podcasting.
Yeah, you're still podcasting?
Yeah, but I hadn't thought that. Yeah, that's why I was like, interesting. Yeah.
There you go. One more question before we exit this interview here. What's with because I was going through the timeline of Instagram on the Mary Escobar. Is it Mary.Escobar R for Instagram?
Funny story. So my parents are Salvadorian. You've heard of the Mara Salvatrucha?
Yeah,
MS.
MS 13.
So I wanted to write MS Mary Escobar, like Miss Mary Escobar, but it was taken. So I wrote Mary Escobar MS at the end, because you're trying to get an Instagram account,
right? Yeah.
So a few people were like, "Is the MS behind your name like Mara Salvatrucha?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Fuck."
So they didn't dawn on you, like,
no,
you just, like,
I was just trying to, because I wanted it to be like Miss Mary Escobar.
Yeah.
But everything was taken, so I was like, well, I'll just put the MS at the end. So I changed it and just put another R at the end.
Did you ever go and check those MS Mary Escobars and see if maybe they were MS?
No, I should have. But a few people told me that. And I was like, I know I'm Salvadorian, but come on, guys. Like, so I changed it.
Yeah, that would have been my first thought. I swear it would have probably been like, oh, is she Mara Salvatrucha?
No.
So the Instagram, Mary Escobar. Going down the timeline, I noticed a few pinup girl pictures.
Yes.
So were you a pinup girl model, huh?
I was not. So I feel, remember I was telling you I'm very Americanized. I don't follow the trends whatsoever.
Okay.
I don't know if you've noticed, I'm kind of blah all over the place.
Yeah.
I've always been fascinated by the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s.
Okay.
Their fashion. I'm a historical buff. Going back to the documentaries.
Right.
I love reading historical fictions. I'm an avid bookworm, and I love the 50s pinup look. And when I started making adult money, I was like, I feel like I want to get dolled up and take pictures. And then I found Roy Varga, who is famous in the pinup world, for pinup shots. And I was like, I'm not a model, but how much do you charge?
Yeah, let's do this.
And I was obsessed with them. So whenever he's in town, I pay to get myself dolled up and be a pinup. But you will see me like this. I'm very conservative. When I say conservative, I just mean like I don't really show, like, if you go through my Instagram, I'm not like showing anything.
Yeah.
But that's my chance to be like a model.
Yeah.
And I'm paying for it, but they're pictures that I love.
Yeah.
If I ever have kids, or if my brother has kids, I want them to be like, damn. When she's 80 years old, but she was a fox when she was young.
That's Thea right there with the black hair.
Yeah, because they even do your makeup and everything, and it's just like.
Was the hair black then?
Yeah.
Okay. Actually,
so I dye it copper red. I was just thinking today while I was driving all day about going back to brunette in January.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's time. I've been a redhead for 2 years now, but I think it's time. But
yes. So that's the real color is brunette, or is it?
It's light brown.
Light brown.
Yeah. So my hair is light brown, and then when I didn't dye it before I started dyeing it, so my tips get like really like dirty blonde. But it's brown. And then my brother is he was more of the blonder one.
Yeah.
But we're Salvadorian guys. So.
I've seen some Salvadorians with blue eyes and blonde hair.
Yeah.
So
my brother was born with gray eyes. His eyes are hazel. And he has like blondish hair, and then I'm like the darker one between the two of us.
Yeah.
So we always get that a lot. We're like, oh, so you guys are Salvadoreños?
Like, yeah. Everybody always thinks dark, right? Like, yeah.
I'm like, yes, we are.
Yeah.
And we're very proud of it.
Nice.
So, and I want to give a shout out to my girlfriend Stephanie Figueroa and her restaurant in downtown LA, La Pupuseria.
La Pupuseria.
So check it out. Yeah. They're bomb ass.
Downtown LA?
Yeah, it's on Union and Washington.
All right. We got to check it out. I haven't had a pupusa. I mean, normally I go with Mirna, right? That's our friend since I was a kid. She makes bomb ass pupusas. And I think one time I went to a restaurant that has pupusas. It was really good, but it wasn't Mirna's pupusas, you know. But we'll have to check it out. One more time.
Check it out. So it's La Pupuseria
in downtown LA.
La Pupusa Urban Eats. I'm gonna have to look it up, but it's on Union and Washington. So they were born here in LA as well, but you know we grew up with Mexican friends, right? Yeah. So they have this pupusa where it's like you order a pupusa of your choice, and then they put al pastor, or they put on chicken on top. Oh my god, it's so fucking bomb! It's so
any birria on there, and put some of that. Consomme on top.
Get on it. But I had it and I was like, fuck, this is good. Because I'm Salvadorian, but I fucking love tacos. You know what I mean? Like, that's the life. Street tacos.
Right.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool of them. It's like
it's a little fusion. You know, it's a fusion of the
both cultures. Yeah. So,
but you see, I've seen a lot of Salvadorian restaurants, like a fusion of that.
They'll sell like they're selling pupusas, right? And they'll have a Mexican part of the
menu. Yeah, but never
so
like
a fuse them.
Yeah.
So they did that, and it's so good. It's ridiculous.
Sure.
And go ahead, guys, check them out.
Check them out. You heard it right there. La Pupuseria, downtown LA.
Yes, but. Yes, so yes, I did do pinup pictures for myself, and I'm really happy with them.
That's cool. No, I like it. Hey, we have to do. I keep saying selfish, right? Oh, people use that so negatively, but it's like, no, I mean, it's okay to be selfish. If you're arrogant, a little egotistical, narcissist, I mean, that's a whole different level. But you got to be a little selfish, when you do things, it's good for the heart.
Yeah, that's what I think. For me, so.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Mary, thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
It was a good talk.
Yes.
I wish you the best of luck with the podcast.
Thank
and
you.
Of course at work. Thank you for what you do.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. You guys, that's it. Check this podcast. Actually, if you guys are listening, it already came out November 17th. So this is Fidel Avendano, and I'm tapping out with Mary Escobar. Adios.
Now tuned in to the tap in. You now tuned in to the tap in. We're talking again.